Okay, so did I just really see a crate dragon in live action Star Wars? Did I really see those action sequence? Did I just see that one's a spoiler actually. But we need to get into Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. How's it going, my fellow Mandalorians? Welcome to a brand new Mandalorian review and breakdown. If you're new here on the channel, I did this all last season, and once again, we are back with Season 2 of Mandalorian, and this episode was truly spectacular in everything that a premiere episode of Season 2 should be. And I'm really not trying to sound fanboy here, it just really did encapsulate everything that I would have gone looking for, and I was suspicious of a little surprise, just like the child in Season 1, Episode 1. I was thinking, what are they going to give us in this episode at the end? And my god! Needless to say, spoilers are in this review. If you haven't seen it, go watch it and come back to this, and then we're just going to ramble and discuss about this episode because, hey, we're all Star Wars fans here, and that was really cool. But first of all, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from people saying, where was the main plot Moff Gideon stuff? This was just a filler episode in the first. No, this is still a spectacular Star Wars tale in this episode, and really it did pertain to the main plot. I know this sounds like I'm ranting already, but in this first episode, obviously we didn't tackle Moff Gideon or the Darksaber, all that kind of integral in Ahsoka stuff, what's going on there. This was still pertaining to all of that main plot stuff with the child, because obviously this whole episode was about Mando trying to find other Mandalorians so he can return the child to his people, and that is how he had that initial meeting with Gor Koresh, because Mando had found out that he knew something about something with some other Mandalorians. And I loved that little intro sequence. We saw this in the trailer as well, Mando and Baby Yoda walking. I love the eyes as well in the background, and I really don't think this is who I think it is, but since there's a bit of Knights of the Old Republic theme going on in this episode with the Crate Dragon, and my god, I can't wait to get into that because that was a big part of my childhood. The reason why I'm already reminiscing about that is because after Mando had gone to Gor Koresh and says maybe other Mandalorians could guide me, I'm told that you can find them. This is where Gor Koresh completely turns it around on him, saying, thank you for coming to me, I'm just going to harvest your lovely little Beskar shiny shells. And he tried to, obviously take him out, but you don't want to... Why would you mess with somebody who has the reputation of a Mandalorian? I don't understand, but that's when he got his whistling birds out, Baby Yoda dipped, and then everybody was pretty much KO'd, apart from Gor Koresh, who he left hanging outside. Now, the reason why I wanted to jump to that is just because when he decided to take out the light, that's where all these little creatures came in, and they just really reminded me of Rakghouls. Does anyone remember Rakghouls from Knights of the Old Republic? Now, I'm not saying at the same time, from this episode, I expected to see Boba Fett in this episode, and at the end, was that really Boba Fett, or was it somebody else beginning with an R? We will get into that, because you may have thought, just like me, that, oh yeah, this is clearly Boba, but then after speaking to a friend who's very in Star Wars, she very much so pointed out how it could be another character, and I really want to get into this speculation with you towards the end of this video, because there is really good arguments for both sides, despite how clear-cut it may seem to be to you. So either way, Mando arrives to Tatooine. It was great seeing Mos Espa again, and we got to see the droid lady again, and already this was really charming. Like, the droids were messing around. It just all felt like good to be back. Do you know what I mean? I know I feel like I'm just celebrating left, right, and center, but I feel like as these scenes were unfolding, and you had her reuniting as the babysitter to Baby Yoda, and you had these funny little Baby Yoda moments popping up, it was just really sweet, charming, and it just felt really good to be breathing back in the oxygen of the Mandalorian world, and in the amazing shots, scenes that we saw, especially towards the end of the episode with the Crate Dragon lair. Those like shots with the camera and the really wide angles were superb. But this is where Mando was pointed towards Mos Pelgo. We loved the little speeder bike scene with Baby Yoda just on the side, like, oh my god, like a dog out the freaking car window. I love the little montage scenes that Mando often does in between traveling scenes. So this is where you saw Mando convening with Tusken Raiders, and that was just a little tease of really what is to come. At this point in the episode, I didn't expect a full-on collaboration with Tusken Raiders to happen. And never did I ever think I would ever see that in on Star Wars live action. I love the old Western themes as Mando entered Mos Pelgo. You know, it's like a new Lone Ranger wandering into town as he was on his little speeder bike. Everybody was looking at this newcomer in town very, very suspiciously. And yeah, it was just Western vibes all throughout at this moment, because this is where he met the Marshal, who actually goes by the name of Cobb Vanth. Now in this video, I'm just going to refer to him as the Marshal. It's a bit easier for me to remember. But Cobb Vanth, if any of you, you know, Star Wars inners, people who dive into it a little bit more in the Star Wars Aftermath novel, I believe that is where Cobb Vanth was first mentioned. I'd never finished Star Wars Aftermath, but I think everyone knows by now, who's quite deep into the fandom, that that's when it was hinted, very much so hinted, that Boba Fett's armor had been retrieved by this person. And in this episode, they essentially gave us that little snippet from Aftermath in this live action episode where, you know, he went on the Sandcrawler, he had those crystals, he traded them for the armor. The Jawas had already picked up Boba Fett's armor, signifying that Boba Fett had got out of there and kind of just stripped his armor off in the dunes of Tatooine. That kind of vibe, if you know what I mean. Mando basically demanded to take the armor from him or else, because since he isn't a Mandalorian, as part of the Mandalorian's creed, to be like, well, if you've got the freaking armor, mate, I'm taking it off of you, because that does... You did not earn that kind of thing. So no matter what, he was getting that armor back, even though technically you could say Boba's armor, well, he technically isn't a Mando. Either way, I loved seeing Boba's armor. It was kind of weird how it was his armor, but on the Marshal, he looked like a knockoff Boba Fett. Either way, loved seeing the little emblem, the insignia of Boba Fett there. It did just look fantastic, and I want to know what happens with this armor. It hasn't been resolved right now. Like, what is he going to do with it? Is he really just going to donate it to the Foundlings, which, you know, wouldn't be surprising, but it would be really cool if he just kept one piece of Boba Fett's armor that was always now on the Mandalorians. Now this is where the main premise of the episode came into play, because that's when the Krayt Dragon arrived in the little town of Mos Pelgo. First of all, I do admit that I thought, if any of you played Jedi Academy and the single player of that, I thought it was maybe one of the freaking Dune-like earthworms, so to speak, but then they said it was the Krayt Dragon, and especially, as I said, when you saw the location for where the Krayt Dragon's lair was, it was straight out of Knights of the Old Republic. But this was really, really cool, because this kind of kickstarted another episode where it was like from, you know, when Cara Dune and the village, they tried to protect them from the AT-ST Walker, and it was kind of like a little collaboration again of everybody banding together to try and defeat this Krayt Dragon. So even though this didn't exactly pan out for Mando as he initially thought it would, because he wanted to go find another Mandalorian, but what he turned up and saw was just somebody wearing supposedly a Mandalorian's armor. Either way, he wanted that armor back, so he was going to see this through. And did the Marshal's speeder bike remind you of like one little sector of Anakin's pod racer engines? I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying it's very reminiscent of one of those little kind of thrusters on his pod, and it's like he added a little sidecar seat into it. I don't know, but I love this moment. I'm not sure how they could hear each other going at that speed on the speeder bikes, but either way, it was really cool going even further into, you know, after the second Death Star was blowing up. As I've always said in previous reviews, I love being immersed even more into little segments of the Star Wars story like that we haven't really seen so much in other perspectives outside the Star Wars films. Like, sure, we saw the main characters' perspectives, but seeing a little village in Tatooine look at the second Death Star blowing up on a little holographic kind of thing, it's just awesome. That's the stuff I really appreciate anyway. I also like how this episode gave a little bit more personality to Tusken Raiders. Like, I know they are savages, they do raid, like as he said in this episode, but in this episode, first of all, it was absolutely hilarious to see Mando communicate in Tusken. To get a bit more into it, like, I eventually felt sorry for them, because, you know, there was that one Tusken Raider who tried to summon the Krayt Dragon, and he didn't even go for the Bantha, like the Krayt Dragon went for the poor little Tusken Raider. I felt bad. I never thought I'd feel bad for a Tusken Raider. And as I said, got to the point of my bullet points now where they're at the Krayt Dragon entrance, and I'm just literally looking at Knights of the Old Republic on Google Images of the Krayt Dragon, and this is what I mean. That little kind of cave in the Dune Sea of, you know, the Tatooine desert, and it's just like, it looks exactly the same. Now, the Krayt Dragon, I instantly recognize the kind of horns on the head, but I'm pretty sure in this Mandalorian episode, I could be really forgetting right now, but did he not have arms or anything? It was more like worm-like. I don't know. I feel like he didn't have the lizard-esque arms. So the plan at this point of the episode is to take him out, but also the only weak spot is underneath the Krayt Dragon. We had everyone building those kind of catapult weapons. Just everything from this moment on in the episode was just crazy. I absolutely loved the amount of just production that was going into this, because not only was it just like so many wide shots, so many things going on, but the effects of the Krayt Dragon was completely awesome. But then we had freaking Mando using his jetpack in sequences that just feel like it's completely ripped out of like a Rebels or a Clone Wars episode, like, you know, where you would see multiple Mandalorians, for example, using their jetpack. And even though the Marshal isn't a Mandalorian, but he's wearing Boba's armor here, and seeing them both go around, it was just, I don't know. I was looking for flaws in it, like little weak effect moments, but it was just all very, very sheen of the screen stuff. Like stuff that was very polished and very, very impressive. Especially, well, it's not really surprising at the same time, because you do want to wow people in the first episode of a new season, but this delivered to expectations and beyond. And also, I think one of my favorite shots is where it kind of borrowed itself, but then it arrived at the top of the mountain ridge, and it was just like, it almost looked like if you'd go to like a Disney park or somewhere like that, and it would be like a roller coaster ride, like the Yeti at freaking Animal Kingdom or something. I don't know. And you'd see the Krayt Dragon at the top. It felt like something like that. But then it was like spitting acid out at everyone, kind of mimicking like a dragon's flame. I also love when Mando just like poked the Marshal's jetpack, which is obviously Boba Fett's jetpack, and it instantly like messed up, and he like started flying off like Boba did in Return of the Jedi. I felt like that was 100% a nod at how silly, like, obviously Boba's death was, because he just got poked, and then all of a sudden, as we know in Return of the Jedi, he just flew off and started screaming into the Sarlacc pit. And yet again, one little poke here from Mando, it goes haywire again. Boba Fett's armor may be really good, but don't trust the jetpack. And I think it's needless to say how incredible that moment was, where the Krayt Dragon swallowed Mando and the Bantha. The Bantha had all the explosives attached to it, and then he came out with like these stunning effects. So much was going on at the same time, and then he detonated it. It was just like, damn, that is a Mandalorian that you hear in the freaking tales that the people keep reiterating. It's like, oh, I've heard tales of the Mandalorian. This is how the Mandalorians have such a reputation for even killing the mythosaurs. Saws? But either way, you know, like the freaking, the Mandalorian freaking emblem, the crest. You guys know, you should know, I think it was referenced last season as well, the mythosaurs. I also loved how they incorporated the harvesting of the Krayt Dragon. The Tuskens were really trying to find the pearl that was in Krayt Dragons, because Krayt Dragons were hunted for these little pearls. That's why they were all going absolutely crazy at the end, and the Tusken Raider sounded like a little teenage Tusken Raider as well. I don't know. This is where, people, we get to the big scene. So obviously he gets his armor, well, not his armor back, but Boba's armor back due to the agreement of the Mandalorian Creed. And as he's zooming away on the speeder, that is where we see this lone wanderer, this lone stranger on this kind of little cliff top. This is where he turns around. You see literally Tamara Morrison's face, who plays Boba Fett, or like, you know, well, lots of clones, the clone army and all that stuff. You know what I mean. I think everyone at this moment was like, oh my god, episode 1, we got the surprise just like season 1 with Baby Yoda. Now they give us, well, I'm going to be completely fully transparent here. I thought it was Boba Fett at first, and I'm not saying that it isn't. It could very well be. This is where, big shout out to Neve, by the way, she stated to me that what if this is Rex? And I was thinking, yeah, what if everybody's thinking Boba, because that's who they want you to think is Boba, but really it could be Rex. We all may know that he survived post Return of the Jedi and things like that, but why would he then go to Tatooine? Whereas Boba Fett obviously got out the Sarlacc pit, and you could argue, yeah, he's just been chilling on Tatooine ever since, salvaging off the land. It looked like he had a bit of Tusken Raider equipment get up there. He had a bit of scarring on his face. My friend also mentioned how people might be after him for serving in the rebellion, just like how people are after Cara Dune. And at this point, Din Djarin does think that the Jedi are these enemy sorcerers, and I think it's very obvious he's going to find out they're not. They shouldn't be enemies, really, and you've got multiple characters to point that out to him, whether that's Sabine or just seeing Ahsoka for himself, the sorcerer. But also, who better than someone like Rex? But yet again, the only things that rub me up the wrong way about that, in terms of why I'm not completely on board with that, is just, I don't know why Rex would be there. Whereas it does make more sense initially, but this could be what they're hoping for you to think, that it would be Boba. But then some people may be like, why wouldn't Boba Fett, like, sure, he could have scraped around some credits to get off of the Tatooine system a long time ago. Why would he still be there this amount of time afterwards? Just looking at it right now, as I'm recording this video, he's got like a Tusken Raider staff there. That's the typical weapon of the Tusken Raider, and he's got a rifle. But I do think it's more likely to be Boba Fett several years after coming out of the Sarlacc pit post Return of the Jedi now, because it's obviously several years after Return of the Jedi in the setting of the Mandalorian. But it does fascinate me as to why he would have never left Tatooine. Maybe he just felt disgraced and his armor was gone and he felt like staying there. Also, just one more thing to tie off the whole Boba Fett Rex theory. The reason why I think it is Boba Fett ultimately is if you listen very carefully to that ending scene, the music is not only a bit kind of, not sinister, I don't know if that's the right word, but like, you know, oh, holy crap, this is Boba Fett music kind of thing. But you hear the little chinks, chink, chink of the boots that he's wearing, which is obviously very signifying of Boba Fett in the past. So I don't think they would have put that deliberately there just to red herring us for it to be another character. But still, all theories are open. I do think this is Boba, especially because of what I just said. Listen to that final scene again. But let me know what you think about the theories of it being Rex. And other than that, this episode, I really liked it. I'm really glad that it was 54 minutes long and not like 28 minutes or 33 minutes. I felt like the pacing was very decent. The action in it was incredible. It had all the charms that Mandalorian brought to the first season, even in the episodes that didn't contain something as grand as the Darksaber or Moff Gideon or something revelationary about the child. You still have very charming episodes like this that start off with the premise of, oh, main plot, let's go find other Mandalorians, but turn into this kind of galactic new Star Wars tale of an episode that I really enjoy, bringing in many brilliant, fantastic aspects of the larger Star Wars canon and borrowing from things that fans love and hold very sentimental, like myself with Knights of the Old Republic and the Krayt Dragon, with the visual imagery being very like the game. I've had a blast of a time talking about it again, and if you want to do this each week with me, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy the video, leave a like and let me know your thoughts on everything down in the comments below. I really hope to be seeing a lot more of you on next week's episode 2 review and breakdown, but hey, what an amazing opening, and I think things are just gonna get wild from here, and I don't think this is it from that mysterious lone wanderer at the end of the episode. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And Mandalorian is back, baby, so I'll see all of you Mandalorians in the next video. Goodbye.